Baldur's Gate 3 is a special game for me. Spoiler warning, as I am going to talk about some plot details here. This video is going to be a few different things of one. I guess it's partially a review, but I'm not really giving it a score or going to go in depth on like technical analysis or anything like that. It's mostly just a video where I gush about this game and state why I personally find it so special. And that's okay, because this is one of those videos that I'm making just for me. Oftentimes I make videos to maybe get a discussion going, to show off what I think might be a cool game flying under the radar for others, or to provide info in general about upcoming or anticipated titles. You know, there could be many different reasons that I'm making a video, but this game right here made me experience so many different wonderful emotions that I just had to get them out in this creative format for myself personally. Now, Baldur's Gate 3 isn't a perfect game. I know this. I mean, every game has its issues. BG3 is no exception. But for me personally, it is the closest to flawless that I've ever played, and by a good amount as well when compared to other games. To start, I want to say that, you know, it's rare that after having, beaten the game, for me to just sit there in silence and let the credits roll in full as I just reflect. This game took me on a one-of-a-kind adventure that was incredibly fun, yet had me awestruck again and again. It was an emotional roller coaster, to say the least. Only a few games have made me feel a similar way after beating them. Ones that, come to mind right now are games like Dragon Age Origins and Divinity Original Sin 2, just to name a few, right? Like those games I mentioned, when I got to the end of it all, I felt like it was truly as a result of the choices I had made as a player, as a result of the choices of my character's build and the choices I made there, and also the choices I had made narratively, rather than just being led from A to B throughout the plot. Other RPGs have, of course, done this. The ending you get is a result of your choices, but with BG3, there's this insane amount of reactivity where I was reminded every step of the way that the world around me was a result of the choices I made. This may have been heightened for me, to be fair, as my wife and I did our first playthroughs as solo runs, but side by side. We made very different narrative choices, and it was crazy that I could see how, all the way from Act 1 to Act 3, parts of the game world would be completely different, having different NPCs, quests available, looking different, and more as a result of those choices I made. Just so many different things could happen. This extended to dialogue as well, to where choices I made would, continuously be popping up. Of course, you have the choices you make in character creation persisting throughout the whole game, which, it was just amazing how that never let up. Your race, class, and even your subclass would be present for options in dialogue. I remember how cool it was to stumble across this carnival happening in the outskirts of Baldur's Gate, and my Archfey Warlock patron not only detected that Fey magic was at play within the carnival and got excited at that prospect, but upon my character being denied entry to the event, my patron offered to speak up on my behalf through me and demanded to be let in, stating that it was unwise to anger an Archfey of such power as themselves. That was really awesome to see in choices in dialogue, and put a really big smile on my face. I got one now just talking about it. Whenever Archfey dialogue options would come up, I would just I'm like, okay, I've got to pick this. I know these other options are good, but I gotta see how this plays out. But also, I'd see dialogue choices come up as a result of actions I took in the game world throughout my playthrough as well. I remember picking up an owlbear egg, thinking nothing of it, and I just carried this thing with me throughout my journey. But later on, I'd end up meeting a person who was contracted to find a Githyanki egg. And I jokingly thought to myself, oh, it'd be funny if I could just give them that owlbear egg I'd found earlier and complete the job for them, by lying. But I'm telling you, I was shocked, and again, had a pretty big smile on my face once I realized that, no, it was actually there as a dialogue option, I could say that. I could be like, hey, let me give you this egg, this Albert egg, and just give it to your bosses. They're not gonna know the difference. And it's that kind of reactivity that permeated throughout the entire game that, like I said, those choices, it makes me feel more than ever that with this game, the ending I had gotten was truly as a result of the choices I made. I'm aware this isn't the only game to operate like this, but I just felt it more here than ever with this game specifically. The main plot, which I was thankfully able to avoid spoilers for, was told very well and had lots of twists and turns. I audibly said, oh shit, for plot revelations more than a few times. This game took me from taking out a small army of these low-level goblins and celebrating it in an adventurer's camp party all the way to things like performing this ritual. And I mean, actually reading a book of instructions to making my character place components onto a blood-drawn star to open a portal into hell in order to pull off a heist for a one-of-a-kind magical item and slay a powerful devil in his own lair with just one of the most awesome musical moments to accompany the fight that I've ever experienced in a video game, where the villain is singing his own theme song like he's the main antagonist in a Disney movie. I mean, I loved every second of it, and saying it out loud, like saying it like that, it just sounds so insane, but it was just something so amazing to experience, and that's not it either. Moments that impactful were plentiful throughout the entire game. Like, I will never forget Neil Newbon's incredible performance in the scene where Starion finally slays his former vampire master that had enslaved him for over 200 years. The raw emotion in that scene where Starion just lets it all out, the anger, sadness, the relief, all in this mess of an emotional cocktail. Honestly, it brought a tear to my eye. Other moments that come to mind are ones like Shadowheart being reunited with her parents, and as a result, she has to accept who she is as a person now is a mixture of her haunting past, but also the bright future that she now chooses to make for herself. And Lae'zel just being heartbroken at the betrayal of Vlaakith with that incredible line. It's what good this heart of stone for it to be shattered. Come on, man, goosebumps. That was coming from a character who up until that point you and I most likely considered cold and unfeeling. I mean, all of the companions and origin characters have these amazing moments and performances that just resonate on a deep emotional level. I loved so many of the side quests too. Like they brought me to interacting with all kinds of great side characters and factions in the Forgotten Realms. Standouts to me are finally helping Marina to let go of her spouse that had passed away, saving some of the tiefling kids like Donnie from the Harpies and the tiefling prisoners from the Moonrise Towers, watching, I believe it's a tiefling couple, just watching them reunite together and dream about going to Baldur's Gate. It really hits you in the feels, and providing a safe home for not only my buddy Scratch, best dog ever, in our party's owlbear cub too, you can't forget him, but ensuring that all of Scratch's former work buddies back at the courier office were also being treated well after having dealt, with, there was a problem handler, let's say, that wasn't treating them right. Those are just to name a few. And that's not even mentioning other things like how great the game looked and how incredible combat was. I mean, these encounters that Larian crafted were so incredibly amazing and inspiring as a DM myself in 2 different campaigns currently. I find myself lately when I'm prepping my sessions, like, okay, how can I incorporate more verticality and excitement into my encounters and skill challenges like what I experienced here in Baldur's Gate 3? It was satisfying, really satisfying to tear through combat with my party, who was led for my first playthrough by my Tab, who was 12 levels, all Warlock, this insanely fun blend of a Gish or Spellblade, right? Who would summon a creature one turn, swing a sword the next, and sling a cone of cold spell to hit multiple enemies on another turn. Like, I'm just, like I said, I'm a DM of 2 campaigns actively at the moment, right? So getting to experience D&D combat from combat from a player's perspective, like, this is just really fun. They absolutely nailed it. Even on normal difficulty, I would be surprised how sometimes everything is going really well in combat, right? Everything's going good, my plan's working, everything's going good, but out of nowhere, things get turned on their head, and all of a sudden, an enemy drops like a big ability or a spell or gets some lucky roll, and all of a sudden, or my rolls are awful, and all of a sudden, my party's in trouble. Our health is like in the red, again, out of nowhere. Those kinds of chaotic moments are what make the combat here feel so D&D-like and dope. Like, and on the opposite end of the spectrum as well, this game gives you the tools to come up with plans in combat. So that makes it really satisfying when one comes together, especially when two characters are together in initiative and you can come up with these really cool combos to pull off. You know, and I want to talk about how some of the encounters, I'm kind of piecing those thoughts together, how some of these encounters are legit puzzles in the middle of combat too. I believe it's called the Grimforge and the Iron Throne encounters are the ones that come to mind. They put a massive smile on my face as I was working to figure out, you know, how these encounters work and how to get past them. They were really cool set pieces. I remember failing the Iron Throne and I wasn't upset. Instead, I was like eager and excited to get back in there and give it another try. In general too, there's just some great puzzles in this game. Like, I remember at the Temple of Lathander trying to figure out the ceremonial weapon puzzle, and I had this real big aha moment when I found an old mace, I want to say it was, in this grave, and I figured out the puzzle, put it all together. I normally dislike puzzles in games and puzzle games in general, so I was surprised with how much I enjoyed some of them here. Not all of them, but some of them here, I was really digging it. And man, I mean, I could go on and on, right? And like I said, this video, it might serve no other purpose other than for me to gush about a few things that make this game so truly special to me. I mean, I left out the final encounter entirely on purpose, as it was just this epic set piece. I would need a 10-minute video just to talk about that and how amazing just that finale was. But you know, that's okay. I just wanted to share all of these feelings and thoughts with you all in reflection on just how amazing this medium of gaming can be. That's what I think Baldur's Gate 3 is, actually. It's a testament to just how powerful, amazing, and emotionally impactful this medium of video games that so much of us loved, like to our core, could truly be. Baldur's Gate 3, for me personally, is the greatest RPG of all time. And that's a good note for this video to end on. That's gonna do it for this video, y'all. Like I said, Baldur's Gate 3 does have its issues, you know, but that's not what the purpose of this video was, you know, not to highlight the pros and cons in an analytical matter. For all intents and purposes, you know, this is just kind of word vomit. So don't take it as an official review from me or anything like that. This is just why this game is special to me. But I'm curious, what did y'all think of Baldur's Gate 3 overall as a whole, in its entirety? Be sure to comment and let me know. And as always, I'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be easy. Peace.